Hey guys, welcome to another vinyl video. So to start off with, we have Meet the Residents. There's a lot of Beatles parodies going on with this. Like, where is it? It's credited to Paul McCrawfish, John Crawfish, George Crawfish, and Ringo Starfish. But yeah, if you're not familiar with the Residents, they're really fucking weird. So this album, it's a lot of tape experiment type stuff, but in general, they're pretty bizarre. This is the only album I have from them. I have listened to a good amount of their other stuff, though. And yeah, they're just some really fucking weird ass shit. Get in there. All right, next up we have Return to Forever, Romantic Warrior. They're a really fun jazz rock / jazz fusion type band, fronted by the legendary keyboardist Chick Corea, who passed away a few years ago. But yeah, pretty simple packaging, but this record's great. I would like to get some more Return to Forever in my collection, though. Next up from Subtract, I have his self-titled album. Always like the mask that he uses. You know, it's in a custom sleeve. This is a really great electronic album. I've heard some people call it dubstep. I'm generally not a fan of dubstep. I kind of find it hard to categorize it as that. There's a download card or code if you want it. But yeah, I mean, this album just got great mood to it is how I'd describe it. But really great electronic album. I mean, it's released in 2011, so I wouldn't say it's that recent, but I would still say it's one of the better electronic albums released in somewhat recent years, as I feel like a lot of the more recent stuff just isn't really that great. I have a decent number of soundtracks in this stack that I'm showing off. I don't collect that many video game soundtracks, but I actually got a few that I'll be showing off, hopefully. But to start off with, we have the Oxenfree soundtrack. It's kind of more of a more obscure indie game. There's supposed to be a sequel coming out this year, but there hasn't been an update in a good while. But yeah, it's about some teenagers going to an island and, you know, getting drunk, doing drugs, being irresponsible, and turns out this island has haunted radio frequencies. Like when you tune into them, like weird shit happens and you hear ghost voices. But really cool art style, amazing soundtrack to it. It's very like, I would say not only the soundtrack is comparable to Stranger Things, but I'd say, like, you know, it has a very Stranger Things feel to it. I feel like there's a little bit more to the packaging, but I guess not. But still, it's a pretty amazing packaging on a thing. You know, has this kind of clear foil on it, so you can kind of see the sleeves on the inside a little bit, because there's a lot of, like, you know, portal and dimensional type stuff going on there, so that's what that's all about. Next up, a nostalgic favorite video game of mine. We got the soundtrack to Sonic Adventure. I'd really like to get the soundtrack for Sonic Adventure 2, but I haven't been able to find that at a good price. Got one of those cool big booklets to it, so I'll give you a quick flip through with that. Everybody hates Big. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like Big. Maybe it's just because I'm such a cat person, but I mean, even just as a character, I kind of like that lovable dunce he is, but I mean, I generally enjoy his gameplay as well. But and in general, Sonic Adventure is a fun, classic video game. Probably the strongest of Sonic's 3D outings at the very least, but it is on some cool colored vinyl. And here's the second disc. Now we're getting into my Sigur Rós collection. I have all of Sigur Rós's albums, just not on vinyl. But first off, we have their debut album, Vaughn, on this cool clear purple outer sleeve. But yeah, this is probably their most weirdest and unique album. It's sort of custom sleeves. They're just black with, you know, printed credits and shit like that. But it's on black vinyl. Let's see here. And the other one's just plain black, no printing going on it. And it also includes the CD. So that's always nice. Yeah, I remember one time I picked up my mom. I was listening to the CD in my car, and she thought it was creepy. But yeah, this is a little bit more instrumental driven, a little bit more abstract. There's one song that's I'd classify as shoegaze. I'd really like to see Sigur Rós kind of explore more of a shoegaze sound, to be honest. But Sigur Rós is still one of my all-time favorites. Now, a pretty significant jump in their history, but we have their second to most recent album, even though it's been a pretty good long while, because this was released back in 2012. But Valtari, this is my personal favorite album. I love the cover of it as well. Nice floating boat. And honestly, I feel like this picture kind of pretty much tells you all you need to know about sound. It's a lot more. I think it's funny that I described that one as abstract, but this is kind of a return to that abstract sound, really, but it's a little bit less heavy and in your face, very floaty, dreamy, relaxing, and I love it. And here's a look at the second one. Yeah, I love Sigur Rós. Then probably the quickest follow-up album they did, I think, like I said, that was released in 2012. I think this was released in 2013. But we have Quaker. This has been described as their darkest and heaviest album. But it's not really that dark and heavy, but it is kind of more unpolished by their standards. There's the gatefold. I love the gatefold on this thing, too. And the vinyl itself has some nice labels on it, I think. There's the other disc. And what I like to keep in this gatefold, some pre-orders from a certain site or somewhere, I can't remember, but somehow some of them included this 10-inch vinyl. I ended up just ordering it separately because I really wanted to hear it. But yeah, I keep it in the gatefold. It has a remix and a couple additional tracks. Additional tracks really sound more like instrumental alternate takes of some songs. Like, you know, there's a lot of certain parts to it that sound very familiar, but it's still pretty drastic change from what you end up hearing on the album. And probably my last album for this particular video, I have score to Back to the Future Part 2. This is a Mondo vinyl. You know me, I love getting Mondo soundtracks. I was actually hoping to get the soundtrack for the first Back to the Future movie. As far as the movie goes, Part 2 is my favorite, but I kind of prefer the score to Part 1. I also prefer the artwork that they had for Part 1. You know, I was really itching to get some Back to the Future in my collection when I picked this up, but I don't really feel the need to get all 3 of them. But yeah, because this was just the best that was available, that's what I ended up getting. But I would prefer to get the score for part 1. I'm not too crazy about the color on this vinyl too either. I think it's kind of going for like the fact of like when the time machine's you know, hits that 88 miles an hour. But I don't know. I think I would actually prefer like simple black. I don't know. I just feel like the color's a little bit too wild for what it is. Yeah, I don't really like overly wild colors for not particularly wild music, if that makes sense. And it also has a insert. So that's all the vinyl I'm going to show for today. And yeah, I'll get back with you later with some more vinyl.